The rope burns against her wrists, coarse and unforgiving as the laughter cuts through the cold night air under the neon pink glow of the diner sign. Sarah in her sky blue uniform is tied to the old oak tree, her cheeks stinging from a fresh slap, tears carving clean lines through the dust and grime on her face. One of them, a guy in a varsity jacket with bright yellow sleeves and clear glasses, leans in, his breath fogging in the air. "You should have just given us the free fries, sweetheart." This is where her shift was supposed to end. This is where their world is about to end. Before we see how this nightmare unfolds, make sure you're part of this channel. Subscribe and hit the bell because justice when it comes is a story you won't want to miss. The laughter was the worst part. It wasn't the rough hemp of the extension cord they'd yanked from a truck bed, biting into her wrists behind the thick, gnarled trunk of the old oak. It wasn't the sharp throbbing pain in her left cheekbone where Mark, the one with the glasses and the captain's C on his jacket, had backhanded her when she'd refused to open the register after closing. It wasn't even the creeping, paralyzing fear of what they might do next. Out here in the gravel lot behind the Retro Mills diner, under the buzzing neon and the cold, distant stars, it was the laughter. High mocking and effortless, the sound of pure, unadulterated amusement at her utter powerlessness. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, trying to retreat into herself, to become small, to become nothing. The diner's pink and blue neon glow cast long, grotesque shadows of the four young men as they circled her. They were local legends in their own minds. Mark Henderson, son of the county commissioner and his three shadows, Todd, a hulking mass of muscle, Kyle, wary and perpetually sneering, and Chip, whose family money was only exceeded by his need for approval. Their blue and yellow varsity jackets, symbols of their high school football glory days 2 years past, were their uniforms. The ripped jeans and expensive sneakers were their declaration that they'd never really have to grow up. Their kingdom was this small, fading Midwestern town and Mel's Diner with its Chrometrum vinyl, booths and loyal elderly. Clientele was a favorite haunt, not for the food, but for the easy, targeted presented in Sarah Sean, Sarah Mark, Singonged pulling out his phone and switching to video mode, the harsh LED light blinding her smile for the Graham let everyone see the special of the day. Triad Waitress comes with a side of tears his buddies howled Kyle mind, wiping a tear away. "You think your husband's going to come save you?" Mark continued, lowering the phone. "What's he do again? Some kind of mechanic, or is he off playing soldier somewhere?" They all knew. The whole town knew Sarah's husband. Liam was deployed a Navy SEAL. But in their arrogant calculus, that was just a title from movies. It wasn't a real present threat. It was an abstraction. And in their world, abstractions held no power. "He's serving his country," Sarah whispered, her voice. "Serving his country?" Mark parodied in a falsetto, prompting another round of laughter. "Well, he ain't serving you right now, is he?" He stepped closer, his sneaker crunching on the gravel near her foot. "We just wanted a little fun, a little compensation for all the crappy coffee you've served us. But you had to be a hero." He gripped a handful of her hair, not hard enough to truly hurt, but enough to impose his will to force her to look at him. The fear in her eyes was like a drug to him. "So now you get to be the evening's entertainment. We're going to go finish our beers inside. Mel left you to close up, right? He won't be back for hours. We'll be watching from the window. You scream all you want. Nobody's out here. Nobody's coming." With a final contemptuous pat on her head, they turned and sauntered back towards the diner's rear door, their laughter fading as the door swung shut with a final deafening click. The silence that followed was almost worse. It was a vacuum filled only by the hum of the neon, the distant whine of a lone highway truck, and the frantic hammering of her own heart. The cold seeped through her thin uniform. She tested the cords. They were tight, professional in their cruelty. A sob welled up in her throat, but she choked it down. Crying was what they wanted. Helplessness was the point she thought of Liam. His calm, steady eyes. The way he looked at her like she was the only solid thing in a spinning world. He was on a deployment somewhere so classified she only knew he was overseas. Communication was sporadic. A treasured text or a crackling 2-minute call every few weeks. Her last text to him sent 6 hours ago was a silly selfie in her uniform with the caption, "Last shift before my 2 days off. Dreaming of pancakes in bed, stay safe. I love you." He hadn't read it yet. He was probably in a different world, a world of sand and silence and imminent danger. He couldn't feel her fear across all those miles. He couldn't know. An hour passed. Or maybe it was 10 minutes. Time had become elastic, stretching into agony. She could see them through the diner's big plate, glass window silhouetted in a booth, lifting bottles, their heads thrown back in laughter. Occasionally, one would point out the window at her, and a fresh wave of mirth would ripple through them. This was her crucifixion, and they were the Romans sharing a jug of wine. Then a vibration, a faint, persistent buzz against her hip, her phone in her apron pocket. They'd been so arrogant, so sure of their dominance, they hadn't even bothered to check her for it. A wild, Liam's special tone. The opening chords of their wedding song seemed obscenely loud in the silent lot. It rang once, twice. On the third ring, it connected. There was a delay, the hollow echoing sound of a satellite connection. Sarah. His voice was low, steady but laced, with the immediate tension of a man who knows a call at this hour on this line is never good. Baby, you okay? It's early there. The sound of his voice broke the dam. A choked, desperate sound escaped her. Liam, that single syllable, the raw terror packed into it, traveled 8,000 miles in an instant and transformed the man on the other end. The loving husband vanished, replaced by the operator Sarah. Status report. The voice was now cold, clear, devoid of all emotion but purpose. They tied me to a tree outside the diner. 4 of them. The guys in the jackets. They hurt me, Liam. They're inside watching. The words tumbled out in a frantic, broken stream. The line was silent for 2 seconds. In those 2 seconds, she could almost feel the world tilting on its axis. Are you in immediate physical danger this second? And no, they're just watching. Describe your restraints, your injuries, my wrists behind the tree. It's a cord. My face, it hurts. I'm just so cold. Okay, listen to me. You are not alone. I am with you right now. I need you to be brave for 10 more minutes. Can you do that? 10 minutes of brave, why? Yes, is your phone on speaker? Can they hear you? No, it's on the ground behind me. Good, I am making a call. Do not hang up. I will be on this line with you until I am there. Do you understand? I am coming to you. It was an impossible thing to say. He was on the other side of the planet. But she believed him because he was Liam. He had never ever lied to her. I understand. I love you. Now take a deep breath. In through your nose, out through your mouth like we practiced. And so tied to a tree, humiliated and terrified, Sarah began the box breathing technique. Her husband had taught her for her anxiety. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Over the line she could hear the rapid, precise clicking of a keyboard, then the muffled sound of him speaking to someone else, his voice sharp and authoritative. He never left her. He whispered to her between his other commands. You're doing great, baby. Just like that. Almost there. 7 minutes later, the world began to change. It started with the sound, a deep, rhythmic thump. Thump-thump that grew from a vibration in the bones to a thunderous roar. The air itself began to churn. Gravel skittered across the lot. The neon sign flickered. Inside the diner, the 4 young men stopped their card game and looked up, bewildered. A spotlight, blindingly white and powerful as the sun, lanced down from the sky, pinning the diner and the oak tree in its stark, unforgiving glare. The wind from the rotors whipped the tree branches into a frenzy and sent napkins and debris from the lot flying in a violent cyclone. What descended from the black sky wasn't a commercial helicopter. It was a sleek, matte black MH-60, a stealth hawk, its angles sharp and menacing. It didn't land so much as assert itself onto the gravel, crushing the asphalt patch where deliveries were made. The side door slid open before the skids even settled, and he emerged. Was in it with her. The fallout in the town was seismic. Mark Henderson's father, the commissioner, resigned within a week. The 4 young men were not just charged with assault and unlawful restraint. They were charged under federal statutes pertaining to the intimidation of a military family. There would be no slick lawyer, no backroom deal. Their varsity jackets became symbols of shame. The diner, after a brief closure, reopened to lines out the door. Patriots, veterans, and ordinary people who wanted to show Sarah she was supported. Mel, the owner, gave her a raise and made her manager. Sarah never waited tables again. With Liam's support, she started an online community for the spouses of special operators, a place of understanding and strength. The scar on her cheek faded to a faint white line, a reminder not of fear, but of survival of a night when the world sent its worst, and in response, her love summoned an angel of retribution from a black hawk in the sky. Liam finished his deployment a month later. He came home for good, sometimes on quiet nights. She would wake from a bad dream and his arms would be there, already pulling her close. And she would remember the sound of the rotors, the blinding light, and the look on his face when he cut her free. A look that said, "For you, I would move heaven and earth and hell to get to you." From which part of the country are you watching this video? Let us know in the comments below. Your stories are why we tell ours.